The exposure of the reincarnation that descended upon Tivat is a regret of not being together, a regret of stepping into the abyss, and a struggle to form a bond in the next life. The buried reincarnations of the past life are finally rediscovered at this moment. Let's start from Tivat to fill the regrets of our past lives. Walnut. Would you die? Cheen. Does the code of redemption look good? It's a life exchange. Yelon. I'm really playing with you, are you playing with roses with me? Felu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Introduction to Tivat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Mond area of Tivat, a young cat with a big buttocks is quietly looking at something in the grass and muttering something from time to time. Hiss, it's so big, Wendy won't be able to bear it, will she? Oh, the traveler and Parmon are also peeking. It's so exciting. That's right, as soon as Yen Yun arrived at Tivat, he landed directly in the Whispering Forest and happened to encounter the plot of Wendy detoxifying Tevlin's blood. Then I put aside why I appeared here for now. After all, that thing always feels the same, and if I miss the plot, it's gone. Then, accompanied by Tevlin's roar, Wendy turned to look at the traveler's gaze. The giant dragon waved its wings and soared into the sky, causing Parmon to tightly grasp the traveler's hair and fly in the air. Wendy also took the opportunity to turn into a wisp of fresh air and disappear. Yen Yun was also almost blown away, and with some envy, he glanced at Pai Meng. Damn it, I also wanted to drag the traveler. Yen Yun, the quiet cat in the grass, did not intend to go out. With the departure of Tevlin, his thoughts gradually returned to him. He felt that something was wrong with himself, so he planned to figure out that he was appearing in front of everyone. Watching the one person and one emergency food leaf playing around, Yen Yun managed to crawl out with a leaf on his head. He held on to the nearby tree in a daze, realizing that the more he wanted to explore his own situation, the more confused he became. This feeling was eerie, as if his memories had been erased, but he could easily recall every blade of grass and tree in the original world for the past 17 years. He leaned against the tree, his eyes slightly divergent, and his thoughts drifted somewhere. After coming over for a while, I was stunned and suddenly laughed. NND, I actually did this stupid thing before. He realized that he could browse through all his memories of the past 17 years and couldn't wait to take a look. After all, some of the past he had forgotten. Yen Yun shook his head and shook off the awkward memories that had come to his mind, walking towards the outside of the Whispering Forest. Are you ignoring the feeling of forgetting something? Harm, what's the point? I'll know what I should know sooner or later. If I can't know, I'll never remember it for a lifetime. It's better to go to Mond and have a sweet flour brewed chicken first. After not walking for a while, Yen Yun regretted not standing in front of Ing and saying, encounter in another world, wipe away all colleagues from another world. Hello, I have already felt the aura from my fellow countrymen, and then fooled Ing Mei into joining the team as her own bodyguard. Looking at the somewhat quiet forest in front of me, there are billions of clouds, just billions of dots. Now he just wants to know if he can run past the Chiochio people. T.T. The pessimistic Yen Yun has already figured out where to bury himself and what the epitaph is. The epitaph buried under the statue of the 7 heavenly gods of the glass moon reads: Worship what Morex, worship me, I have Morex more than him. Without dialogue, it seems that we don't have Mora either, and it seems that Mond wouldn't have such a kind heart as Walnuts to bury it for himself. Thinking that Yen Yun had already seen the bright light outside the forest ahead, it seemed that he was about to leave the Whispering Forest. Yen Yun vaguely had some expectations for the scale of Mon City in reality, and his footsteps inadvertently accelerated a lot. Accompanied by the dim and dazzling light escaping from the forest, Yen Yun squinted his eyes. As his gaze returned, he saw the magnificent city wall that could still be seen from afar. TSK, it seems that this scale is different from the original work. At least there must be more than just Captain Chin helping catch cats and dogs. As for Captain Chin, regardless of these jokes, he has a prejudice against Mon's giant baby, and it's not too late to put aside his prejudice when he sees it firsthand. However, in no time, Yun felt a bit distressed towards the road in front of him. It was obvious that he had to walk for an hour under the afternoon sun to reach the Mon Bridge and be wary of the Qiuqiu people. Chapter 2. Previous Exposure Systems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yun didn't walk for a while before looking at him with some melancholy. He saw only a few injured Qiuqiu people resting around a campfire on the only path, and there were also several Qiuqiu people's corpses on the ground that had not been absorbed by the earth's veins. Mei, why don't you give them all a beating? Yun was speechless, obviously unable to defeat even a few elderly, weak, sick, and disabled ones. On the left is Guizhou Lake, and on the right is a rock wall with a 3-meter-high fault. TSK, we're in a dilemma. Whispering in the forest is obviously not safe either. We can only wait for Mon's adventurer or the passing of the Westwind Knights to be rescued. Yun sat down in a shadow. After all, he felt that although the people of Qiuqiu were foolish, they should not stay in such a place for 4 or 5 nights with injuries. Suddenly, a panel popped up in front of me. Tivat's past exposure system affiliated group chat. I have been added to the group chat. Wendy. Where is this? Group chat. Group chat. I am familiar with this, but I am not familiar with this type. Amber. Traveler, do you know this? Kaya. Oh, who is little Amber with? Group chat is something I have seen on a device in another world, which can be understood as a way for a group of people to come together and chat conveniently, but I have never seen such a thing. Zhongli. It is generally rational to say that the focus is on the exposure of this past life. Hu Tao. Zhong like Qing, you are also here, so is this bringing people from the Tivat continent together? Isn't that Walnut? Cough cough, the funeral hall offers a great discount for guests to bury one get one free. The environment inside the coffin is comfortable and warm, just like going home. First come, first served. Hu Tao. At Zhongli, hurry up and shout together. I have seen a steady stream of customers coming towards me. Kamisato Ayaka. The Hall of Death. Is it the kind I understand? Yun. Don't go back to life adding traveler. Big, dangerous, rescue. Are you? Amber. Did you encounter danger? Are you in Mon territory? I'll be right there. Yun. I am at the exit of the Whispering Forest, and there are several injured Qiuqiu people in front of me. I can't beat it. Paramount is embarrassed, Pemon. Why are there photos of Pemon? Yun. Is this the key point? Just a moment, Amber and I will go over soon. Sorry, at that time, Pai Meng had been picking fallen fruits for too many days and couldn't free them up, so he didn't clean them thoroughly. Yun. Traveler, you are a good person. Walnut. Oh my, is this gentleman facing any difficulties? Do you want to book a service for the funeral hall? If you can't find the body, we will arrange for the Iguan tomb for you. Limited time discount, 10% off Kuching. Master Hu is afraid that this may be a bit inappropriate. Zhongli. Ah, Master. Hu Tao. Hey, don't worry, this little guy with a big fortune is definitely not going to be okay, Pai Meng spits out, Ningguang. Does Master Hu still have the talent for fortune telling? At this time, Yun was not looking at the chat group. After all, this thing had nothing to do with him at first glance, and it should be a system based on the overall appearance of Tivat. He just needs to wait for the help of the traveler's thigh and Amber's little cutie now. Not long after, I saw 2 figures and a floating object walking in the distance. It seemed that they were just clearing the surrounding monsters with amber, so it wasn't very far. Yan Yun also quickly stood up and waved at them. Ying and Enbai also saw Yan Yun, and compared to Enbai's confusion, Ying was amazed. The two of them quickly approached, and as Amber threw the Count of the Rabbit and attracted the Qiuqiu people, the traveler went up with a wind vortex sword that gathered the Count of the Rabbit and the Qiuqiu people together, then retreated with a fireball arrow flying behind him. A magnificent explosion directly took away these Qiuqiu people. Yan Yun immediately leaned in. Traveler Amber is really grateful to you all. What about Parmon? Parmon crossed his hips angrily. Parmon didn't do anything well at all. Amber smiled and said to Parmon. Ah. Amber, you're actually helping outsiders speak. Sigh, damn it, Pai Meng is angry, not a single one. It's not good to coax 3 sweet flower brood chickens. Pai Meng flipped over angrily in the air. Hello there. My name is Ying and I am a traveler from another world. You are also from outside the world, right? Ying looked excitedly at Yan Yun. Yan Yun hesitated for a moment and then lowered his head to look at his shorts and short sleeves reflecting a Pikachu. He immediately understood that apart from his hairstyle that had turned into white long hair for some unknown reason, he did not look like Tivat. Oh, is that so? I just don't think I've ever seen this style of clothing before, Enbai realized. But your hair doesn't match your clothes at all, Pai Meng pointed up and down at Yan Yun's hair. Hello, my name is Yan Yun, and I am indeed from outside the world. As for my hair, I don't know what's going on. I used to have short black hair. Yan Yun touched his own hair, but he didn't care after all, it didn't have much impact. Have you ever seen an unknown deity with white hair? Have you ever seen a boy who looks very similar to me? Ying asked eagerly. I'm sorry, I haven't seen anyone who looks very similar to you, but I have seen the unknown deity you mentioned. He seems to call himself some kind of maintainer, and I can't remember clearly. Yan Yun scratched his hair, pretending to be a bit confused. Yan Yun did not intend to tell Ying Kong about her whereabouts, after all, she had her own journey and could meet groups of close friends. During the journey, she gradually learned the truth. He did not have the ability to change his direction and could not bear the responsibility, after all, he vaguely remembered a sentence. The maintainer of heaven is dying. That proves that this corresponds to the survival of this world, and he cannot control the fate of the entire Tivat at will. Who knows if Ying knows if eating and drinking are good now, and if becoming a prince in the abyss will turn black. However, it seems that this system is also a variable, so I hope there won't be any major surprises. Hey! Strange guy! Are you listening to us? Pai Mengfei said loudly in front of Yan Yun, dancing angrily. Ah! I'm sorry, but I seem to have some problems with the maintainer's ability and lost some memories, so I accidentally got stuck in memories earlier. Yan Yun explained with a loud laugh. Let's talk while we walk. Yan Yun took the initiative to walk forward and waved his hand. Chapter 3. Parmon. What did you specify to hide, kid? You are listening at novelfull.audio. So you and your brother were defeated by that maintainer and woke up unable to find your brother. Then you caught this Pai Meng in the sea and planned to travel to the 7 kingdoms to find your brother. Yan Yun pretended to calm his thoughts and said. Well, yes, if you meet my brother in the future, please let me know. Ying waved her small fist, showing great enthusiasm. No problem. But by the way, is that Pai Meng some kind of special fish? Yan Yun pretended to be curious and approached Ying Jing Mimi. Hey! Strange guy, why don't you say it behind your back? Pai Meng angrily grabbed Yan Yun's hair. I was wrong. Please spare your life, Mr. Pai Meng. Yan Yun shook his head exaggeratedly. Make the two of them laugh out loud. Do you have any plans next, Yan Yun? Enbai, who had been silent for a while, suddenly asked. Hey! Me, it's hard to say. Yen Yun thought for a moment with some distress. If I have some strength, I would like to travel to 7 countries with Ing, but unfortunately, I am just an ordinary person, so I can only choose a country that I am used to living in and integrate into it. Yen Yun thought for a moment and said truthfully. Hey, strange guy, do you want to also touch the 7 heavens god statue? Travelers can use the wind element just by touching the wind god statue. Parmon proudly crossed his waist. Yes, Yen Yun, would you like to give it a try? Anbai was obviously curious about the strange setting of outsiders. Yen Yun was looking at Ing and noticed that he was also looking at him with curious eyes. Okay, but after all, there are still some differences between Yen Yun and Ing. It's better not to have expectations. Although Yen Yun knew the result, he still agreed. Humph, then we'll be successful. If you want to join the trip, you have to look into the eyes of Mr. Parmon. Before Parmon could finish speaking, a virtual screen suddenly popped up in front of everyone. The exposure system for Tivat's past life has officially been launched. Quickly wearing. I lose memory and become a salvation hero in a downtown family protagonist. Xianyuan Tianxia, Yen Yun, Walnut Zhongli. Hu Tao. Surprisingly, it is the past life of our sect leader. However, who is this Xianyuan world? It sounds like the name of Li Yuren. Kuqing. Did the parentheses after the name change to Yen Yun again? Amber. At Yen Yun, is this you? Pai Meng. At Yen Yun, good kid, you are not being honest in your designation. Yen Yun. It's unfair, I don't know either. I lost my memory as I said. T.Ing. Alright, Pai Meng will know after reading it. It's time to take a break after walking for so long. Qin. At Amber, pay attention to safety in the wilderness. Amber. Don't worry, Captain Qin and Traveler are super strong. Yen Yun. Yes. We 4 are super strong. Parmon is proud. Pai Meng. Humph, it's very upscale, strange guy. The 4 of them found a big tree and made it down. Yen Yun, do you really don't know anything? Ing persisted and asked again. Please look at the title, how could I possibly remember the story of my past life? Yen Yun felt somewhat helpless. Pai Meng actually wanted to say something more, but the plot on the panel has already begun. What caught the eye was a small courtyard, with a young man with long black hair holding a wooden sword and constantly chopping, with fine beads of sweat flowing from his forehead to his chin. Jia, the sudden sound was exceptionally clear in the small courtyard where there were only waving and chopping. Xiao Tian, come and rest for a while. A woman carried a wooden box into the courtyard. Mother, the boy looked at the woman in front of him and sweetly greeted her. Come on, take a break. Mom brought some pastries, don't listen to your father and master practicing swordsmanship all day long. The woman's eyes flashed with a hint of frustration and sadness. Mother, I know it all. I chose it when my master told me, Xianyuan Tian said seriously. I don't blame my master and my father. Xianyuan Tian earnestly grasped the wooden sword in his hand. Ah, the woman gently rubbed the young man's head. The two sat silently in the pavilion, looking at each other. Zhongli. It doesn't seem like Tivat here. Walnut. What about the master of this hall? Why hasn't our sect leader appeared yet? Lu Yi Yuan Ping Song. Currently, there is a lot of hidden information in this short section. Whether it is the unbearable look in the eyes of the young mother or the endless conversation, it seems that there are many hidden things. Eightfold Divine Sun. It's really becoming more and more interesting, Yen Yun. It's strange. In my past life, I also had black hair. Why am I white now? Parmon. It must be your kid hiding something. Yen Yun. Lord Pai Meng is unjustly accused. Wendy. The video has started playing again. As the camera dimmed, the young man who was recovering his appearance had begun to take on a heroic spirit, and the wooden sword in his hand had also turned into a long sword wrapped in white cloth. At this moment, they were discussing something in a somewhat lobby-like place. "Father. Please let me take care of them," the boy said to the man sitting in the main seat. "No way. Stay quietly there. These are not things you should get involved in." The man refused without hesitation. "Humph, take good care of your sword. Your passion is not meant to be used in such a place," said an old man standing next to the man without mercy. As the old man spoke, the man on the main seat clearly felt a headache and rubbed his brow. "All right, Xiaotian. You have other things to solve. The Hu family came to propose marriage as your father a few days ago and agreed to it. They will bring her over in a few days. You are ready." The man waved his hand and asked someone to take the young man out. The young man seemed to be able to say something, but was blocked by two maids. The young man watched the maid's expression of distress and had to give up, wave his sleeve, and leave. The young man walked angrily on the road to the small courtyard, kicking stones in dissatisfaction. "Oh, are you the fiancé of this young lady?" At this moment, a brown girl with two ponytails sat on the left wall courtyard, swaying her legs. The young man was taken aback for a moment, then opened his mouth and said with a bright light in front of him. "Are you here to divorce? That's great." The girl on the wall was obviously confused by this sentence, even her big heart couldn't understand the boy's brain circuit. "Well, that's not it. My dad doesn't want me or them to be difficult," the girl thought for a moment and explained. "What are you doing here?" The young man didn't show any interest as he didn't quit. "Of course I'm here to see you, otherwise what else can I do? But you're quite interesting. My missus' name is Hu Tao, Hu Tao's Hu Hu Tao's Tao." Hu Tao jumped down and introduced herself on her hips. "My name is Xianyuan Tian Tian." The young man didn't want to say much. Just like the girl, he didn't want to make his father difficult, but his situation was different from others. He was also afraid of developing feelings with the girl in front of him and making her difficult. "What, there's nothing left?" Walnut was obviously not very satisfied. "Since Miss Hu Tao has finished reading, I will order someone to take you back," Xianyuan Tian Tian said to Hu Tao. "Ah. It's not that I haven't even looked down on you, you haven't looked down on me." Hu Tao looked at the young man angrily. Xianyuan Tian Tian was about to explain when he was interrupted by a voice. "Mississippi. You're running around again. Come back with me quickly." A maid ran over, grabbed Hu Tao's right hand, and bowed to Xianyuan in the sky, apologizing. "Sorry, my young lady's mind is a bit off. The master of the house has an urgent matter with the young lady, so I'll leave first." The maid quickly pulled the walnut and left. "Humph. You bastard, wait for me. When I come back, smash your dog head." Hu Tao turned around and waved his little fist in dissatisfaction. Chapter 4. Yunxi Sparrow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhongli. In terms of universal rationality, this child is no different from his past life. Hu Tao. Kaching, what are you saying? Parmon is on his hips. Parmon. Why do we use our Parmon emoji? Parmon is angry. Hachizen. This is much better than light novels. Kamisato Ayaka. Their relationship is very good. Walnut. Where do you see that I have a good relationship with this person in heaven? Parmon is puzzled. Barbara. Indeed, even though they only met once and even had some conflicts, it was unexpectedly suitable. Amber. Indeed, but Yen Yunxi has always been concerned about something. Ing. Riddle man, get out of Tivat. Yen Yun is dead. Yen Yun. I won't carry this blame. Parmon. It's so damn good. Kaya. I always feel like something's wrong, but I can't say it. Dialect. Oh, what can your little brain tell? Kaya. Did you see it? Dialect. Humph, I'm not sure if I'm taking a look. Alhazen. Indeed, although not very obvious. Lu Yi Yuan Ping Song. The answer is not far away. The pitch-black scene was played again, this time in the small courtyard where there was only one more girl with a pouting mouth and a boy with a collapsed kitten criticizing his face. Humph. Humph. The two of them coincidentally snorted, and Hu Tao walked into the room first. Xian Yuan watched as the girl's back disappeared before his eyes, and his anger swept away, revealing a faint smile. He then left the courtyard with a serious expression. The next appearance was already in front of a wooden door, and he hesitated as he stood outside, unsure whether to knock on it or not. Come in, it's not appropriate to be like a little girl at the door. An old and kind voice came from inside the door. Xian Yuan didn't hesitate to push the door and enter the sky. An old man sat in the pavilion, looking at ancient books. Master. Xian Yuan Tian quickly said hello. Alright, why are you making careless eye contact with me? The old man smiled. You don't have to worry about that little girl either. I originally rejected your father's proposal, but I found that there were some connections between you. Although you only have one ending in your life, there is still a thread tied in the dark. The old man seemed to be a bit puzzled. Well, I can't explain it to you. Just go back and get along well with that girl like a piece of wood. Even if you know the outcome yourself, you can't just anger her, can you? The old man looked at him unhappily. I'll listen to my master, the young man said with his head lowered. Hey, everyone who listens to me as a teacher. Hey, I shouldn't have told you back then. The old man's frustration was already visible to the naked eye. Master, I don't regret it. Xian Yuan Tian said loudly. This is my own choice, it has nothing to do with my master or father, Xian Yuan said with serious eyes in the sky. Hey, it's okay, you go back now. The old man waved his hand and sighed up to the sky. Xian Yuan bowed in the sky and quietly left. He wandered aimlessly around Xian Yuan mansion until evening without realizing it. At this point, the camera returned to the original wooden door, which was pushed open and entered by the head of the Xian Yuan family. Li Lao, has Xiao Tian come to you before? The head of the Xian Yuan family bowed to the old man. Well, he's quite dissatisfied with your arrangements, Li Lao stroked his beard with melancholy. Is there really nothing we can do? Xuanyuan's head looked low. He is also my disciple, I observe this celestial phenomenon day and night. But these few stars remain unchanged, only the dim starlight in the clouds and mist that I can never separate is destined for the future. Li Lao's tone was somewhat out of control, as if feeling heartbroken at his own incompetence. When Xian Yuan returned to the courtyard from the sky, he hesitated and walked over to the side room with lights still on. He placed the pastries he had bought while wandering at the entrance and knocked on the door to return to his own room. He also understood and decided to follow suit. At least he didn't dislike her, he just felt that it would be a debt to her. Hu Tao angrily opened the door and looked left and right, only to find that there were no figures of teenagers. Just as he was about to close the door, he saw a pastry box on the ground. Humph, you have some conscience. In the morning, Xian Yuan Tian was practicing swordsmanship in the yard, while Hu Tao was gnawing on the buns and watching, occasionally saying a few words. I said, what are you doing with that seasoned thing? You're a young master of the Xian Yuan family who still needs this skill. By the way, why are you only practicing one move? Aren't you tired of crooked? Seeing Xian Yuan ignoring himself, Hu Tao was lying bored on the stone table alone. After Xian Yuan finished practicing swordsmanship in the sky, Hu Tao had already fallen asleep on the stone table. Draped him with a blanket and cautiously walked out of the room. 2 guards at the gate greeted the boy. Young master, this is going out, it's strange. Well, go out and buy some things, Xianyuan Tian said as he headed towards the flower and bird market. When I practice swordsmanship, I don't like to talk, but I practice swordsmanship all day and night. I always have to find something to relieve her boredom. Xianyuan looked around in distress. Suddenly, he saw a plaque with the words, Treasure Beast Pavilion, written on it. Thinking of the quirky personality of Walnut, he walked in without even thinking about it. Just as I walked in and didn't take a stroll for a while, a bloated man walked over with a smile. Ah, young Master Xianyuan is so pleased to visit our shop today. The shopkeeper rubbed his hands, squinted his eyes, and greeted with a smile. Well, show me the strange and good-looking spirit beasts in your store that are suitable for giving people away. Xianyuan didn't wander aimlessly when he saw someone in the sky who could lead the way. Oh, then you've come to the right place. The shop owner squinted his eyes and immediately remembered the announcement of the marriage alliance between the Hu and Xianyuan families in the previous joke. You can come with me. The shop owner took him to a delicate cage on the 3rd floor. Two beautifully shaped birds cuddle with each other, one pink with long tail feathers and the other blue with a dull hair on its head and agile eyes. This is the Yunxi sparrow. According to legend, as long as it leaves the other side in pairs, the Yunxi sparrow will end in melancholy. It has a beautiful posture and a high level of intelligence. In folk culture, giving gifts also represents love. The shop owner still hasn't finished speaking. Okay, just these two little guys, pack up. Send the bill to Xianyuan Mansion. Xianyuan Tian looked at these two good-looking Yunxi sparrows and thought that Hu Tao must like them. The store manager was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and agreed, calling for someone to place the Yunxi sparrow in a delicate small bird cage, and thoughtfully covered it with a red cloth. Xianyuan carried a bird cage in the sky and headed back to the mansion, humming folk opera that seemed to be in a good mood. He wandered around like yesterday until evening, bringing pastries and birdcage back to the yard. Mei Kai put down his things twice and knocked on the door back to the room. Nilu. It's so sweet. Although a lot of time was skipped and only the non-overlapping scenes were watched, it's really sweet. Call it. That's to say. Qin. Is that shopkeeper trying to say that this symbolizes love in folk culture? At this moment, Qin sat in the captain's room, holding the dream gaze of the young girl Vila with some longing. Lisa. Ah, our piano team leader is observing very carefully. Come and wait for me to come to your place and see what's going on, Qin. Lisa. Bennett. Ah, why didn't I understand? Kaya. You're still young, you'll understand when you reach my age. Kaya's weathered face. Dilek. Hee. Yen Yun, can't you tell you're quite careful? Ing looked at him with some amusement. That's right, it's so sweet. And Bale squinted his eyes. That's Xianyuan, not Yen Yun. Yen Yun helplessly supported his head. Chapter 5. This miss, I'm not with you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Looking at the teasing eyes of Anbai and Ing, Yen Yun quickly changed the topic. The video has started. Watch it now. Strange guy, are you being blunt in changing the topic, but it's very effective, Parmon pointed. When the scene unfolds, there are differences between seeing Xianyuan Tian and Hu Tao compared to before. At this time, some mature young men in Xuanyuan sky were becoming more prominent and had already reached the age of 17 or 18. Walnuts are not much different from Tivat, but they are not very different. However, Xianyuan Tian remains steadfast in practicing that sword technique. Walnuts are teasing the two birds in front of them. Xiaolan, why do you say this wooden person practices that move all day long? Xiaofan, why are you sticking to Xiaolan all the time? She said and skillfully pulled them apart. Xiaofan suddenly became anxious and quickly flapped his wings to lean toward Xiaolan, who also lightly pecked at the palm of the walnut. Oh, really, why did this would bring back 2 greasy crooked birds? Hu Tao picked up the bird cage and walked out feeling depressed, thinking that this thing seemed quite expensive to show off. Everyone who saw her in Xianyuan Mansion would bend down to greet her, but she wasn't very happy. After all, that wooden person was probably carrying her back and married that broken sword, and she was mostly a concubine. Woo-woo, I'm so angry. Hu Tao's footsteps became faster and faster. As he walked out of Xianyuan Mansion, there was a constant clamor of sales in his ears, but it didn't seem boring. After all, this reality is something Xianyuan Mansion doesn't have. Walnut's footsteps have also become light and agile again. Take a look at the west, with the tomatoes on sticks in his hand, humming limericks on the road. A beautiful woman was originally a bird in the forest, but she accidentally became a bird in a cage. The sky is high and birds are allowed to fly, but the iron cage is trapped on the wings of the clouds. Hey, you two are also pitiful, said Hu Tao, looking at the 2 Yunxi sparrows with deep emotion. Hu Tao arrived at the back mountain of Xianyuan Mansion, and the whole mansion knew that she had 2 birds in her hands, so it was very safe to release them here. Open the cage and watch 2 birds jump out with some probing. Go ahead, but only in this area, otherwise there will be danger. Walnut smiled gently. The 2 little ones spread their wings and flew high, circling happily and emitting bursts of chirping. Then they flew back to the walnut shoulder and lightly rubbed it, flying to the nearby tree branch. Goodbye, if you don't go back, that wood will scold me again. After saying that, she bounced back by the side of the walnut. Perhaps what she released was not a bird, but her seemingly shackled self. The Yunxi sparrow behind him emitted a faint glow, drifting towards the walnut and the young man in the distant courtyard, and finally intertwined gently on the way back. Hu Tao walked and stopped, and her mood improved a lot. Whenever she met someone, she would say a few words. At this moment, the whispers of the 2 maids attracted Walnut. Hey, have you heard about it? A while ago, the young master bought Yunxi and gave it to Miss Hu of the Hu family. I envy you so much. If my idiot had given me this, I would have married him long ago. What are you thinking? This is precious. I'm afraid you're too old to wait. I can't even think about what you said. Yeah, after all, Yunxi Sparrow symbolizes love and will never be separated for a long time. And it is said that if a lover who is blessed by Yunxi cannot love, or if one of them dies, the Yunxi who blesses them will also sacrifice themselves for each other. Ah, it's so romantic. Walnut listened clearly from beginning to end, which made him a bit stunned. Is it that this guy is not wood? Thinking accelerated my pace. As soon as I reached the door, I pushed it hard and saw Xianyuan Tian standing at the door, intending to go out. How did you come back? The food has already cooled down. Xianyuan stared at him in the sky, as usual. Who wants it, Ben? Miss, I'm not as good as you. The usual gaze made Hu Tao feel shy for a moment and he didn't know what he was saying. Finally, he covered his face and rushed back to the room. Ong! What's going on? What's this girl doing today? Xianyuan Tian, who was somewhat puzzled, closed the door and shouted into the room. Come out to eat. No. I've eaten it. I walked back into the room and heard the sound of something smashing on the bed. Xianyuan, who couldn't understand, shook his head and could only solve the dishes on the table by himself. Time flies, and since Walnut's last inexplicable incident, they have suddenly taken the initiative and their relationship has become increasingly close. Nowadays, Xianyuan Tian is no longer practicing swordsmanship in silence. Instead, he occasionally responds with a few words. He thinks it's a good experience to have someone share a day's interesting things with him while practicing swordsmanship. Days passed day by day, and one night, Hu Tao stopped Xianyuan Tian, who was planning to return to his room. Hello. I have something to ask you, Mississippi. She leaned against the pillar and looked at him. You say. Don't you like me, Mississippi? I'm asking you a question. Hu Tao turned his face toward Xian Yuan in the sky. He saw the plum blossom pupils on the delicate face of Walnut, with slightly reddened corners of his eyes. You're talking, why do you always avoid this kind of question? Walnut's voice trembled slightly. What am I? You're saying it. If I can't accompany you until old age. If one day in the future I might lose you. If in the future. There aren't so many ifs. Miss, I'll ask if you like it or not. I don't care about anything else. After a long silence, Xian Yuan suddenly approached Hu Tao in the sky and gently embraced him. I like it. Humph, I still have to submit to my Mrs. Beauty. Why do you have so many ifs? Why do you just practice your sword all day without going out to sea? My master told me a story when I was a child, saying that one day in the future, disasters and demons would run rampant and no one could stop them. Only the dim star obscured by layers of clouds and mist represents hope. Later, when I was 7 years old, I told me that it wasn't a story, that star was me. I had been given 2 choices, one is to relocate the Xianyuan family and the other is to cultivate my sword with my special physique, which may bring me infinite glory in the future. I chose the latter. Oh, I understand now, you wooden person actually has a chivalrous heart for the people. That's it. Xian Yuan proudly raised his chin in the sky, making Hu Tao chuckle. Yes, choosing the latter did not mean picking up a precious sword, but the Xianyuan sword, the sacred tool of the Xianyuan family. It was not meant to be a heroic hero who saved lives, but rather a dim star Nilu. Woo 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 woo, Miss Walnut is so straightforward. Sweet is too sweet. Kali. Only a straight ball can move wood, right? Tinari. Ah, the girl's idea is indeed simple. Elheisen. Indeed, at this pace, there are likely to be problems in the future. Wendy. Hey, it seems like everything is okay, but this romantic poem is destined to be sung by minstrels. Zhongli. In terms of universal rationality, there are quite a few problems involved, and I agree with the statement made by Elheisen. Hachid Shinko. I can't understand it at all. It would be great if Inami's light novel could be so exciting. Yen Yun. That's probably enough. This culture is still too advanced for Inami. Parmon chuckled. Eightfold Divine Son. If the little one doesn't know how to speak, you can speak less. Parmon threat. Chin. Parmon looks forward to it. Lisa. It seems that our piano team leader is quite excited about the upcoming story. Chin. Lisa. Sugar blushed. Yen Yun looked at the joyful chat group and looked at the 2 people next to him discussing the plot in the group, feeling somewhat helpless. As a reader of various novels, he probably already knows the ending. It seems that everyone has forgotten the initial title. I hope they won't cut too badly. Putting aside this kind of thinking and putting the problem on oneself, is this what I am missing all along? Shunli Lingren. It seems that everyone has forgotten the title of this story. Eightfold Divine Son. Damn it, don't say it. Pai Meng is angry. Nilu. What? Seeing Yen Yun here, he couldn't hold back any longer. This Eightfold Divine Son has been pretending to be silly and waiting to have fun. The video has been replayed before the innocent girls can understand. Chapter 6. Sword slashes demons and demons. Love without fate, there will always be differences. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wood, let's go, accompany me to the market. Hu Tao happily pulled Xian Yuan Tian, who was reluctant to part with his sword, towards the door. The servants passing by on the way all had smiles on their faces, and their young master, the iron tree, had bloomed. And behind him, a man withdrew his gaze. Master, the old man seemed to want to say something. All right, don't stop his every move from now on. Those who should have succeeded in 10 years have also succeeded. If they don't succeed, it won't be the reason for this momentary delay. Xian Yuan, the head of the family, looked a little worried and haggard. But the master, the old man said. Xiao Tian is my son. He has been suffering for many years, so don't talk anymore. Xian Yuan, the head of the family, turned around and left. But the head of the family is also someone I value greatly. What I am asking for is not that dim stars can withstand endless disasters. To establish the hearts of the people for the Xian Yuan family, to gather public opinion for the Xian Yuan sword, and to seek stability for the common people. The old man finally let out a long sigh and bent down to follow, seeking that the stars can emit boundless light for him to obtain a trace. Tomatoes on sticks, tomatoes on sticks. Okay, buy it. Jewelry. Buy, clothes and clothing, buy. Buy it all. Coffin and coffin. Couple style. Buy. What's wrong with the hissing? There's something strange. He quickly grabbed the walnut that was about to rush into the coffin shop. Xiao Tao, let's not buy this. Xian Yuan felt a headache in the sky. Buy. Why not buy? Such a big person hasn't taken life and death lightly yet. You should know that life and death have their own destiny. We'll use it sooner or later, and then we'll use the couple's version. Speaking of life and death, it reminded him of something and he suddenly fell silent. Hey, why are you so depressed? When you die, I will personally bury it for you. Quickly, let's choose one we like. Looking at the optimistic walnut, Xian Yuan chuckled in the sky. Yes, who knows about the future? She just likes it. Hey, there's nothing I can do with you. Buy it. You still need to be at the level of our Xianyuan mansion when buying a couple's item. Xianyuan Tian waved his big hand and said gracefully. Okay. At night, the head of Xuanyuan's family fell silent as he looked at the bill. Enjoy 3 taels of gold along the way. Luxurious double-layered peachwood coffins for couples and the highest scale of final delivery service. Ultimately, it turned into a long sigh. Unconsciously, the end of the year arrived. Ah Tao, it would be great if we could choose an auspicious day next year to get married. Are you serious, stinky wood? Hu Tao stared at him with surprise in his plum blossom pupils. Well, of course, a gentleman's words are hard to recall. Hee, my dad really said it right. Hu Tao secretly felt proud. What did your father say? He said that sooner or later, this cabbage will make you arch over. Wow, you call me a pig. The two of them started fighting in the yard. In the first month after a short period of good times, natural disasters suddenly broke out, plagues rampant, and demons appeared everywhere. At night, the willow trees hanging down beside the pavilion danced with the gentle breeze. The old man looked at the stars in the sky and couldn't see them clearly in the clouds and mist. But the bright red disaster star shines brightly. Finally, there is a sigh left behind. Father. Xian Yuan walked into the main hall and looked at the father sitting in the main seat. Xiao Tian. Here we are. The head of the Xianyuan family seemed reluctant. Xiao Tian, let's not go anymore, okay? The woman cried tearfully on the side. Mother. I have been waiting for 10 years. I should go now. Xianyuan Tianxia turned around and walked out of the main hall. Stop at the entrance of the main hall for a moment and say. Father, thank you for your decision. I have been very happy these past few years. Help me tell her to marry her when I come back. After speaking, he turned around and left. The walnut waiting for him to come back in the yard seemed to feel something and immediately ran towards the outside of the mansion. When we arrived at the gate, we could only see the backs of those who were unable to escape. When we wanted to continue chasing, we were stopped by an old man we had seen by the owner's side. Miss, the young master said to be obedient in the mansion and wait for him to come back and marry you. Not long after walking, he arrived outside the city, and at a glance, he saw the pungent blood and corpses scattered everywhere, causing Xianyuan to frown frequently. Watching the guards fighting in the distance outside the city, Xianyuan raised his sword wrapped in white cloth slightly in the sky and fiercely slashed forward with the golden sword energy, passing through the soldiers and killing all the monsters. Everyone only felt magical, and as the terrifying sword energy passed through them, a gentle wind blew slowly by. I don't know who took the lead in shouting. Xianyuan young master is mighty. Everyone shouted together, causing the people who had left the city to stop. If there was hope, who would want to leave their hometown? Looking at the terrifying sword marks and the corpses of demons all over the place, the people also had expectations in their hearts. Xianyuan suddenly felt an extremely cold feeling in the sky and shouted loudly. Everyone retreat into the city wall. Quick! Everyone dared not be careless and immediately ran towards the city. Just as the crowd left the city gate, a huge crack appeared. A pitch-black beast claw fiercely broke open the crack, and a monster with a wolf head, tiger body, and lion tail stepped out from inside. With just one glance, everyone in the city sat on the ground with difficulty breathing. Xianyuan felt a pair of invisible big hands pounding heavily on his body, making his bones emit a crisp sound. At this moment, he lightly brushed his head with both hands, and his whole body relaxed. Seeing the master standing in front of him smiling at him, the blood at the corners of his mouth and the penetrating claws on his chest couldn't be concealed. Don't disappoint me. As the words fell, a huge spiritual energy surged into my body, instantly increasing my strength. Ah, you! Death! Xianyuan's sword, gritting his teeth and teeth, swung out horizontally from the sky. The wolf-headed monster was repelled by dozens of meters. Looking at the master lying in the pool of blood and the demon with only scratched skin, Xianyuan also understood. Sure enough, there is always only one ending. Xianyuan gradually floated into mid-air, and the white cloth in his hand shattered, revealing a 6-foot-long sword with the sun, moon, stars, and other side engraved with mountains, rivers, plants, and trees. Good disciple, I will tell you a story as my teacher. According to legend, our ancestors observed the celestial phenomena at night and suddenly realized that there would be a great calamity for future generations, but they never figured out the person who broke the game. So he passed down the art of stargazing to seek the meager vitality, but unfortunately, the world has long forgotten the Xianyuan sword, the holy weapon of our Xianyuan family, and lost faith, losing the power of the sword's edge. According to legend, only the legendary innate sword body that nurtures the sword with its own body can reproduce its former sharpness. So the predecessors painstakingly sought the elusive innate sword body in the human world. If the Xianyuan sword were to be completely eliminated by demons, it could either resolve the crisis or rebuild faith. If I were to tell you that person, that's you. Master, I am willing to. For the Xianyuan family, for the Xianyuan sword, for the people in the city. The young Xianyuan replied loudly from the sky. The Xianyuan sky in mid-air pours all spiritual power and life into it. The black hair fluttering in front of the forehead gradually turns snow-white. Sorry, Xiao Tao, I broke my promise. Recalling scenes from the past, tell her to come back and marry her after playing. It's good for me to get married in the new year. Buy the most expensive. Do you like me? Answer it. She must like this bird god handsome. Hello. Are you my fiancé, eh? Father, I have made up my mind. Master, I am willing to become that dim star. My disciple, as a teacher, I will tell you a story. Humph. My young master of the Xianyuan family is destined to stand above everyone and stand between heaven and earth. Let's call him Xianyuan Tian. The past scenes were like clouds and smoke, and then burst into laughter. Remember the demons, the sword that will slay you is Xianyuan Tian, a talented swordsman who stands tall among others and lives in the future between heaven and earth. The Xianyuan sword in your hand is also destined to slay all the demons and protect the peace of the world. Only this sword will send you back to the west. Xianyuan, with a head of white hair, held up his golden long sword emitting a terrifying aura in his hand and fiercely slashed downwards. Suddenly, the golden light shone brightly, and everyone felt a piercing sensation. When he saw it, only the huge demon that had been chopped in half was left, but the figure of the young man was not seen. The Xianyuan sword, floating in mid-air, lost its power and looked down upon all beings, but instead filled with tenderness towards the world. The faint golden light emanating from around gradually gathered, and the people of the entire Cloud City seemed to hear gentle murmurs. Slash the demons of the world protecting the peace of the world to ensure the safety of all living beings goodbye, Shoutao. As the golden light dissipates, the side of the sword that depicts the sun, moon, and stars seems to have a dazzling silver glow in the dark, yet it remains unchanged. Victory did not bring joy, and looking at the long sword floating in the air, there was sadness in my heart. Hu Tao leaned helplessly against the Xianyuan mansion in the courtyard, which was closest to the city gate. Of course, he could see the scene in the air. She only felt a twinge in her heart. On the back mountain, Xiaolan painfully closed her eyes in her nest, and Xiaofan gently leaned against it. Li, entrusting fate to others without authorization, do you hate me? Li, at least we're always together, aren't we? Chapter 7. Reward Distribution, Entangled Walnuts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The video playback ends, and the protagonist of the video distributes rewards. The protagonist of the video, Xianyuan Tian, Yen Yun, has obtained memories from his past life, with half of his cultivation during his peak period, and Xianyuan sword, fake. The protagonist of the video, Hu Tao, gains memories from his past life, while the spirit beast, Yunxi, is able to grow by 2. Please collected in a timely manner. Pai Meng. Woo, I do know why you have white hair. Ing. Why can I still be cut in a different world? Parmon cried loudly. Nelu. Cole has no response. Collet has no response. Tinari. Hey, Cole. Elheisen. At Dialek at Deer Garden Heizo, did you guess the ending? Dialek. There's a gap, I didn't expect to die directly in battle. Lu Yi Yuan Ping Song. It hurts too much. Lisa. At Qin, are you okay? Zhongli, slay the demons in the world, protect the peace of the world, and ensure the safety of all beings. Zhongli ponders, Luyun borrows the wind from the true Lord. This concept is somewhat familiar with the Emperor, and this ordinary person is quite pleasing to the eye. Kaya. Didn't anyone care about rewards? Ganyu. Perhaps more important than rewarding a precious and memorable memory. Bakhong Shensi. Sister Ganyu is right. Although the ending may not be satisfactory, the joy of getting along is indeed a precious treasure. The Eightfold Divine Sun. The act of not daring to accept the outcome and getting stuck in it and unable to move forward can actually make people forget the beautiful memories during the process. Lay Movie. Ing. Speaking of which, is there anyone around Miss Walnut? Pai Meng. Yes, Yen Yun here was stunned for a moment, and he still hasn't responded with his eyes closed. Zhongli. The master had already returned to his room when Mr. Yen Yun was on his deathbed. Kuqing. It seems that there is a strong sense of immersion. Amber. So Yen Yun is a bit different from Walnut. Pai Meng. Yes, Yen Yun seems to have always been a bit confused and an indescribable feeling. Ing. It's the kind of resolute appearance that even though you haven't remembered anything, you still have to remember it. Yen Yun. Hello. Don't add any drama, okay? How did you see so much from my face? Hey, Yen Yun, you're awake. Pai Meng flew up to Yen Yun and looked at him curiously. Does it look like there hasn't been any change? Parmon observed for a moment and then said. Is there any change? It's a bit difficult to explain. Yen Yun looked at the chat group. When Hu Tao wakes up, I'll ask for the specific situation, and I'll probably explain it. Yen Yun grinned, and this memory still had some influence on him. You see, this guy really has a secret. Pai Meng quickly flew to Ying's side and whispered to her. Alright, Pai Meng, don't hold on to Yen Yun. How about I treat you to 2 plates of sweet flour brewed chicken on behalf of Yen Yun when you arrive at Mengda? Amber smiled and looked at Xiao Pai Meng. Hey. Really, cough cough, okay then, Yen Yun Ben Pai Meng doesn't suspect you have any strange intentions towards my traveler. Pai Meng crossed his waist and lifted his head. What are you all looking at me for? Parmon noticed that all 3 of them looked at him with strange eyes, scratching their heads in confusion. So what exactly do you think of me, Xia Paiming? Yen Yun hugged Pai Meng and rubbed his head wildly. Ah, strange guy, stop it for me. Pai Meng also bit into Yen Yun's hand. Alright, you two, stop messing around. Hu Tao is speaking in the chat group, Ying interrupted with a smile as she watched the 2 of them play around. Hu Tao. At Yen Yun, come out to our sect leader. Walnut at Yen Yun Zhong Li, Hall Master, Zhong Li helplessly, Eightfold Divine Son. It seems like you have fun watching. Lisa. Little cutie seems to be in trouble. Nilu. Hey, isn't there a scene where lovers eventually get married? Lisa. Little girl, you don't understand anything at all Yechong Shensi. Yes, this sudden appearance of memory ultimately does not belong to the present self, it is always 2 independent individuals, even in the same place. Bakhong Shensi. And it's hard to say whether it will become a searchable memory or directly integrate into it. Yen Yun. At Hu Tao, may I ask if I call you Miss Hu Tao or Hu Tao Hall Master? Hu Tao. The head of this hall was introduced from the 88th generation of the Shishing Hall, and is not a member of any family. Walnut Pride, Yen Yun. Adding at Pai Meng at Amber, I understand now. Miss Walnut answered very quickly without any accidents, so as expected, it wasn't memory fusion in directly becoming the person in the story. It must be just a separate memory that can be recalled. So why are you? Yen Yun. I also had some speculations earlier, and since Miss Walnut's situation has confirmed my speculation. Yen Yun. This memory may be the same for Walnut and even for all the Tiwats who followed. Yen Yun. As for me, I am quite special. Perhaps I should have remembered these things, but for some reason I forgot, so unlike you, I have fused my memories. Yen Yun. You can understand me as a puzzle box, and those forgotten memories are lost puzzle fragments. Eightfold Divine Son. The little one is very special Lisa. Little cutie, will you be coming to Mon City later? I'm looking forward to it. Yen Yun. At Hu Tao, is there anything that Hu Tao Hall leader is looking for me about? Walnut. No, it's okay. Walnut. No. So you're directly fusing memories. Isn't it because I have ulterior motives towards our sect leader? Yen Yun. That's what I said, but ultimately it's my current dominant personality. Some things are not easy to explain. Walnut. This do you like it Ing? But when you called Hu Tao earlier, you clearly wanted to talk about Xiao Tao. Walnut. Hey. Coral Palace Heart C. The reaction of Walnuts is also thought-provoking. Kamisato Ayaka. The girl is ignorant. Yen Yun looked at the people chatting so happily and felt a bit muggle. He admitted that at the moment when memories flooded in, his feelings for Walnut were no longer the same as his original love for the paper man's wife, but Walnut was still the same Walnut, so even if he liked it, he would wait until he arrived at Liyue to know the future. Alright, stop talking. It's getting late, and if we keep talking, Amber won't be able to catch up with the night's report. Yan Yun looked at the three enthusiastic people with some helplessness. Hey. It's over, it's only about 10 minutes left. It's at least half an hour from here to Mond. Amber turned pale. Is punishment scary? Parmon looked at Amber with concern. That's not true, it's just that there is a handover between the knights on patrol. I didn't go back on time, and the knights in the handover team would be very troubled. Amber felt a little helpless. After all, it's because of me that you've been delayed. Let me handle it. Yan Yun thought for a moment, thinking that although his cultivation was not high, it seemed sufficient. Do you have a way? Ing seemed somewhat puzzled. Well, after all, I'm not just Yan Yun, I'm also Xian Yuan from the sky, Yan Yun said, calling out the Xian Yuan sword hidden inside his body. You can also take out your sword. Anbai, you and Ing will be fine together. Yan Yun confidently grabbed the handle of the sword. Mo Fei. You want to take us flying with your sword? Ing was immediately excited. Quickly took out the blade-less sword from the Eye of God. Amber, hold on to Ing tightly. He picked up Paimang and grabbed the hilt, dragging him up with a whoosh. Ing and Amber followed closely behind. Ing, help me, this strange guy wants to kill, accompanied by the three people's screams, they arrived at the Mond Bridge in no time. Yan Yun, you bastard. Ing went up directly and it was an iron fist strike. Amber didn't take any action, obviously he hasn't regained his soul yet. Stop and stop. This can't be my fault. Flying with the Imperial sword cannot stand firm on the sword without practice, let alone are you two people or this kind of one-handed sword. Yan Yun quickly begged for mercy. Besides, for the sake of fairness, I came over holding onto the sword hilt the same way. Yan Yun quickly retreated to a safe distance and took off Paimang, who had his hair removed from his head. I clearly remember you only practiced one move in the video. How could you still fly with a sword? Ing glared at him and asked curiously. After all, I am a direct fusion of memory. Before the age of 7, I had already started practicing imperial swordsmanship, footwork, and swordsmanship under my master's guidance. At the age of 5, my elders in the family gave me various martial arts secrets to recognize characters. Yan Yun looked up with some pride. So now I am proficient in mastering the steps and swordsmanship of the imperial sword technique, and my mind still records that most of the martial arts and secret scriptures collected by the Xian Yuan family have not yet begun to learn. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. That gaze seemed to be trying to clean him from the inside out. Chapter 8. New feature event live, Sword Slaying Wind Demon Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wait a moment, I'll take you into the city after the handover and report to you, and Bai waved his hand lovingly and ran towards the city gate. As soon as Amber walked away, Ying's gaze became even more aggressive. Hey, don't look at me like that. I can tell you in advance that except for some simple martial arts, they are basically not allowed to be passed on. Yan Yun quickly waved his hand. Oh, what are you doing out there? Aren't you Xian Yuan from the sky? Ing rubbed her little hand. Now I know that I'm not Xian Yuan Tian, but I'm sorry that after the live broadcast, I'll be him and he'll be me, Yan Yun shrugged. Hey, can you learn that walnut? Xiao Paimang rubbed his chin and pondered. This is quite possible, after all, the cultivation belongs to the Xianyuan heavenly generation. Yan Yun nodded. Hey! At this moment, Xiaopaming suddenly let out a loud sigh. How did we appear in the chat group? Zhongli. We didn't mean to hear you talk, but unfortunately you didn't respond. Kuqing. Look at the group announcement. Ningguang. It seems that Mond is going to have something big. Yilan. It must be something that came out a while ago. Qin. At Amber, take the travelers to the city immediately. Amber. Got it, Captain Qin. Group announcement. Detect past life exposure and play it every 7 days. We hereby add a supplementary function. Wherever a major event is detected, 2 members of the group present will be selected for live streaming. After finishing reading, the 2 of them also exchanged a glance, pulled up Paimeng, and walked towards Amber. Travelers, hurry to the city. Mon's recent major event is only the Wind Demon Dragon. Amber said anxiously. Although I have prepared gifts for you, unfortunately, I can only wait for this matter to end. Amber felt a bit regretful. Alright, Amber, I'm super strong, Ying forked her waist. That's it, the 4 of us are super strong, Paimeng also agreed. Swan, Lawrence, let's go first. Amber walked towards the city. May the wind god bless you. Swan and Lawrence made a knightly salute. Amber anxiously pulled Ying and ran towards the knights. Why is Amber in such a hurry? Xiao Paimeng was puzzled. We need to quickly go to the leader of the Qin team to discuss countermeasures. If we don't solve it in a timely manner, we may not be able to leave the city during this period, Anbai said urgently. Be on guard. The Wind Demon Dragon is here. Madam. Humph, the knights are really incompetent. They were actually defeated by the Demon Dragon in Mon City. Wendy. Help, the Wind Demon Dragon is attacking the city. Zhongli. Amber. As a bard, please stay and don't run around. It's very dangerous. Amber looked at the green hat poet circling around Mon Square in front of him, feeling speechless. Wendy. No. He is the bard who has won the Best Bard Award for 3 consecutive times. Everyone. Yan Yun looked at the roaring blue dragon in the air and felt a little scared. This thing is much more than in the game. Rationality told him that even if he didn't have the Wind Wing Knights now, he could still solve this crisis. After all, the Wind God was circling around there. But when he saw the group of ordinary people with frightened eyes, his instinct told him he had to step forward. No matter what the outcome is, at least we cannot disappoint our bold words when holding on to the Shenyuan sword. Ying, keep an eye on Paimeng. Yan Yun handed Paimeng, who was holding his hair on his head, to Ying. Yan Yun. Ying was somewhat worried. Anyway, when I held the sword, I was already a qualified hero, so I couldn't watch the lost dragon act recklessly. Yan Yun took out the sword. Walnut. No way. Kuqing. What doesn't work? Walnut. It's nothing. Zhongli helplessly, Yan Yun lifted the white cloth that wrapped around the sword peak, just like the real product in the video. At this moment, a sense of familiarity surged in his heart. As expected, this pseudonym is meaningless, and the power that unites people's faith constantly proves the power of this humanitarian holy soldier. Yan Yun leaped up with spiritual power, floating briefly on the soles of his feet in mid-air. The fierce hurricane made his short-sleeved hunting sound. Zhongli. Is this pure power of faith just a replica? Zhongli ponders, Beidou. Why does the handsome scene give me a feeling that something is not quite right? Nilu. Indeed, although this strange outfit doesn't seem unattractive, it's still a bit inappropriate for such an occasion. Ying. This flip-flop is the most dramatic one. Paimeng Fu-yi, although Ying's mouth was constantly teasing, his face, which was gradually turning purple in his arms, appeared somewhat pale. Yan Yun looked at the Wind Demon Dragon facing him with a serious expression, and roughly estimated the gap in his heart. Due to the erosion of demonic blood, its combat power is not as good as before, coupled with the situation in the plot where it runs away after fighting. Yan Yun plans to take a gamble and become an honorary knight. If he loses, he will receive a gift package from the Xingtang Hall. Without much hesitation, all spiritual power converged and blended with the power of faith revealed in the hand and sword handle. The terrifying aura made the wind demon dragon roar and the wind element in its mouth continuously condense. Damn it, these two bastards are coming at me. Wendy sighed, are you two planning to blow Mond up? Wendy furrowed her brows and retreated behind the crowd. A green halo lit up at the hair tips, and a transparent wind barrier condensed by wind elements separated the battlefield. The sword of man is like a fleeting dream. Yan Yun rushed up and swung his knife down to chop. The speed of the golden sword energy was extremely fast, and it directly struck the breath of the wind demon dragon's mouth. The confused golden radiance and wind elements exploded violently, and the tumor in the neck felt the golden energy as if encountering a natural enemy, turning it into pitch-black smoke. The wind demon dragon let out an angry roar. Roar, roar. Tuolin noticed that his majestic dragon roar couldn't help but lower his head and take a look. The three dragon teeth on the ground are mixed with blood. Tuolin's mind awkwardly recovered a bit, and the mother said how could there be a leak. Tuolin, who had partially regained his sanity, looked at the familiar atmosphere of the battlefield and the dragon teeth on the ground, and looked at Yan Yun with a mournful expression. Then, his wings flew out of the wind barrier and disappeared without a trace. Yan Yun also dried up his spiritual energy and fell directly downwards. Just as Ying was about to come forward and rescue the hero with a beautiful woman, she finally tricked him into using the sword technique with a gesture of gratitude. She noticed a purple figure, accompanied by the low chirping of the night crow, jumping into mid-air to catch Yan Yun. The girl put Yan Yun down and looked at him with a serious expression, as if she had found someone who was familiar with him. I saw the other person waving their small hand. I am the guilty princess of the Netherworld, my real name is Fisher. I, the brave princess from another world, have ordered you to send me your name. Fisher gestured as she looked at him. My name is Yan Yun, I'm a traveler from a foreign land, Yan Yun said hesitantly. But Fisher looked at him like an NPC who hadn't triggered the plot and didn't let go. Yan Yun looked at Fisher, who was motionless and had some toothache, so he decided not to do anything. Anyway, there were no outsiders, and wearing a short-sleeved flip-flop with one hand covering his eyes and one finger had a clear foolishness. Humph, then listen carefully. I am the only victor of the distant exile world, and the Black Flame Envoy, who opened up in the starry sky, would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the Crown Princess for her assistance. Fisher's eyes lit up and he looked at him excitedly, forgetting his identity as a princess. You are indeed the same kind of person as me. Cough cough, you are indeed the established person with this princess. Mississippi. Oz was a bit of a muggle, he didn't expect someone to have a brainwave match with his own Mississippi. At this moment, Yan Yun suddenly realized that live streaming was something, and his face turned red. The flip-flop almost caught his runaway toe. Seeing that Fisher was still planning to communicate with him within the team, Yan Yun pretended to be Tuolin Yang and leaned against the wall, calmly closing his eyes. Fisher was a bit anxious to ask about the situation. Mississippi. I think if you ask, this gentleman might close his eyes forever, Oz quickly stopped Fisher. Yan Yun, leaning against the wall, quietly gave Oz a thumbs up. The screen next to her was still laughing, and the laughter of her and Parmon was as cold as winter ice. The screen on the side suddenly stopped. Then listen carefully, I am the only winner of the distant exile world, Ying pretended to raise her hand. Pioneering in the dark flames of the starry sky, Pai Meng quickly accepted. Then the two of them burst out laughing loudly. Ha ha ha, I can't do it, Ying. Ha ha ha, the pitch-black flames make the adult faint and his face is so red. The Pai Meng people were almost laughing and twitching. Puff. Ha ha ha, Amber couldn't hold back in the end. Oz, who had a bewildered expression, and Yen Yun, who had already turned into a statue. When the three of them cleared up their minds, they were looking at Yen Yun. At this moment, he squatted in the corner, drawing circles, and could still vaguely hear something humming. The world isolates me and allows him to ridicule me, Walnut. Ong. I didn't know he had this side, but it's so interesting. Hu Tao. At Yen Yun, how could the pitch-black flames make adults feel isolated? Huang Longido. Okay. Okay. So cool. Starting from today, I, Baraki, will also be a golden bullfighter with Inami's wife. Back Hong Shensi. Puff, the little one is really interesting, Barbara. It's rare to see someone who can answer Fisher's words. It's rare to see her so happy. Many people in the city don't really understand Fisher. Barbara. The song that Yen Yun Traveler hums is also very interesting. Is it music from another world? Yen Yun. Yes, I have the opportunity to teach you, powerless, Ing. What's wrong with the pitch-black flames? Pemin cares, Wendy. Doesn't anyone care about Tevlin? Kaching. Tuolin. Wendy. Hide Nilu. But the traveler is very powerful, he actually repelled the wind demon dragon. Yen Yun stood up and glared at Ing. Turn your head to look at Fisher. Miss Fisher, if possible, I'd rather speak normally. Otherwise, I'm not even sure if I might suddenly jump into a river. Yen Yun felt somewhat helpless. Humph, I allow you to be unreasonable. Of course Fisher wouldn't refuse, but it's a privilege given to the person who is fighting against his brainwave. It would be a pity if he really runs away. Chapter 9. The Walnuts opened. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the live broadcast room was closed, a rhythmic sound of footsteps came from the corner. Pop 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 pop. Traveler who can defeat the demon dragon, are you our guest or a new storm? Of course, I don't doubt your character. I can still trust the character of this hero. Kaya smiled and looked at Yen Yun. Looking at Kaya's curious gaze, Yen Yun felt quite uneasy and a bit uncomfortable. Don't be so interested in me as a man, okay? Amber didn't pay much attention and waved his hand to Kaya with a happy expression on his face. Let me formally introduce myself. I am Kaya, the captain of the cavalry team of the Westwind Knights. It's nice to meet you all. However, since the Wind Demon Dragon has just retired, why don't you come with me to meet the leader of the Qin team? Kaya leaned slightly and pointed to the Westwind Knights. Ing turned her gaze to Yen Yun, intending to see his thoughts, but Yen Yun didn't hesitate to nod at her. So a few of you come with me. Kaya saw that the two did not refuse, so she led the way ahead. Pai Meng drifted beside Yen Yun and quietly looked at Kaya before whispering in an ear. Oh, Yen Yun, why do the Shifeng Knights have pirates? Pai Meng was puzzled. Humph, you don't know that, right? It's called making the most of everything. Think about it, what are the identities among pirates who can wear eye masks? Yen Yun said with a serious tone. That's all, captains. Then he must have great management skills. If he's recruited, there's no need for training, and he can still unify the Mon Sea. Ah! So amazing. Little Parmon was very surprised and suddenly respected the leader of the knights who he had never met before. Hey! Don't talk about others behind your back casually, you two. It's very impolite. Ing gave the two of them a surprise. Ing will find their chatting very interesting and even agree, but can we not speak so loudly? Kaya's brown face in front is almost turning black. Pai Meng chuckled and scratched his hair. causing Yen Yun to shake his head. Parmon. Can you scratch your hair? Yen Yun opened Parmon's hand in silence. A few people followed Kaya all the way to the gate of the knights and greeted the 2 knights guarding the gate before taking everyone inside. I opened the door inside marked as the leader's office. Hey. I have brought the person you want, Qin. And little one, I'm not a pirate. This eye mask was passed down from my grandfather, Kaya suddenly said as she turned around to leave. Ah. So your grandfather is a pirate? Parmon asked with some simplicity. Kaya, who was about to leave gracefully, almost fell in place and hurriedly left. Tisk, indeed sincerity is the ultimate skill. Yen Yun was a bit unsure whether Pai Meng was really black or simply foolish. Puff, the little ones are really interesting. Lisa, leaning against the left bookshelf, couldn't help but laugh. The plump curves trembled with laughter, and Yen Yun had never seen such a scene before. You know, walnuts are. Without hesitation, he quickly averted his gaze and noticed the somewhat helpless Qin in front of his desk. But this glance couldn't be separated from the gaze. It wasn't that Qin's beauty was amazing, but rather that the blank next memory seemed a bit loose. But no matter how hard I thought about it, I couldn't recall it. Instead, due to excessive use of mental energy, I experienced a moment of confusion. The crowd looked at Yen Yun, who was staring at Qin with a frown, and Qin was also somewhat bewildered. Qin. Taboo. Magic. Yen Yun murmured. What? Qin didn't hear clearly. Yen Yun, who had calmed down, quickly waved his hand. Sorry everyone, it may be due to excessive spiritual energy consumption and some poor mental state earlier. Qin didn't think much and looked at Yen Yun with some worry. Is the traveler feeling unwell? Should we take a break in the Knight's Lounge first? It's okay, I believe the leader of the Qin team has something to say to us. Ing looked at Yen Yun with some confusion, wondering why this guy's state just now was so similar to when he collected his memory. Pai Meng didn't notice at all, but Lisa looked at Yen Yun with some playfulness. He was very curious about this traveler from another world and had been paying attention to him, so he could hear those 5 words clearly. Forbidden magic. Interesting little cutie is really mysterious, Lisa whispered. I am Qin, the acting commander of the Knight's Order in Mon City. Thank you all for your help to Mon City. Qin stood up and made a knightly salute to the 3 of them. After expressing gratitude to several people, Qin also provided information about the dragon disaster. Finally, after agreeing to the Honor Knights Award, she had in-depth discussions about the Wind Demon Dragon. Subsequently, several people accepted Qin's commission to deal with the wind element crystals in the temple's dryness. Because Yen Yun's spiritual power had been fully utilized and needed to be restored, Ing volunteered to shoulder the task and leave with Qin and others alone. And he was also arranged to close his eyes and breathe in a lounge on the 2nd floor. But soon after, I realized that closing my eyes and adjusting my breath were too boring, and the recovery was slow. So I sat up and waited for my cultivation to recover at night. I opened a chat group to see what I was talking about. Xingqiu. At Walnut. Do you have any martial arts secrets? I am looking for them with a lot of money. Chongyun. At Walnut. Do you have the art of searching for demons and monsters? Spend a lot of money to buy in autumn. Xingqiu. Paramount is puzzled, Hu Tao. Unfortunately, in my previous life, I was not interested in cultivation and only watched a set of cultivation techniques, which were not passed down by the Xian Yuan family. Zhongli drinks tea, Xingqiu. Walnut, you're confused. Confused Chongyun. Confused. Zhongli. Why don't you go ask Yen Yun? Xingqiu. You don't know, you heard during the live broadcast that they are all family collections that are not leaked. Parmon weeps, Xingqiu. At Walnut, haven't you learned anything in your own family? Hu Tao. Why do you think they got married? The Hu family is a business family, what do you think? Walnut demon protection threat, Yen Yun. Have you only seen one set at Hu Tao? When I arrive at Liu, I can copy a few spells such as demon suppression, cleansing, and spiritual communication. Xingqiu. Envy separates my qualitative walls. Chongyun. Eating ice cream, walnut. At Yenyun, wood. Why can't internal mental techniques be used? Kuqing. Condensation. Zhongli, alert, Xingqiu. Surprised, Ing. Alert, Yenyun. At walnut, because the eye of God will extract corresponding elements from the free elements for absorption, the chaotic elements that seem to drift away in this world can be used as spiritual power. Just remove the eye of God. Yen Yun. Big guy, what's wrong with this? Parmon. Wood. Yen Yun. Walnut. What's wrong? Although this memory is not fused, the head of this hall has figured out that it is still a past life. The head of this hall is a reincarnation hall, specifically sending people to be reborn. Walnut. Nature believes more in these things, so what's the problem? At Yenyun, although I don't have that kind of emotion for you now, you are still a fused memory. Hu Tao. Cough, unrequited love is not good. Our sect leader doesn't want to be secretly remembered, so let me give you a chance. Nilu. It's so sweet. Kali. It's so sweet. Lisa. Alert, Fisher. How dare you compete with the great princess of the netherworld to become my servant? Wait for the empress to complete this commission. Fisher. At Yen Yun, the pitch-black flame envoy is waiting for my princess. Fisher stomped his feet fiercely in the wilderness, and why did he just take on a month-long commission, sobbing? Miss, what's going on? Oz was a bit puzzled. Yen Yun. The traveler and I may go to Liyue after solving the wind demon dragon and finding the wind god. Yen Yun. At Hu Tao, then wait for me. When it comes to Liu, pass on your imperial sword technique, Xiao Tao. At this moment, Walnut's cheeks were flushed, and she was a little distressed about why she would say it in the chat group. She had originally intended to say it from Yen Yun to Liu, but looking at Fisher and the traveler made her a little flustered. Damn it, it must be the influence of memory. Woo-woo, I think our master doesn't care about life and death, but he doesn't care about this thing. Walnut teased the cloud finch in the room, looking at two birds just like Xiaolan and Xiaofan. Humph, after all, it's not a past life, so there should be some differences. You can call it Sanmi or Simi. Tomorrow, our master will introduce you to Demi Nermi, Hu Tao poked Simi's long feather. At this moment, Yen Yun was somewhat happy. He had been troubled by the issue of walnuts. After all, the fusion of memories caused him to be able to suppress his longing, but when he met, there would definitely be problems. Unexpectedly, Walnuts himself opened up first. Should it be said that it is truly a walnut that can underestimate the ghosts and monsters of life and death? Chapter 10. Accompanying little cute fried fish, hitting Kaya old. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Perhaps it was because Walnut's words and emotions suddenly cleared up, and he quickly fell asleep while lying in bed. The next morning, while Yen Yun was sleeping soundly, the door was quietly opened. A small head poked in, and a golden silly hair on the door handle swayed and the perspective shifted downwards. A delicate and lovely girl, like a porcelain doll, was looking inside curiously. The reason for the arrival was probably because Coley had just escaped from the confinement room, and the iconic fiery red hat and small backpack were not brought out. The brothers and sisters of the knights all say that the new honorary knight is a good person. Kaya released Coley from the confinement room and asked me to find honorary knight to fry fish, little Coley whispered to herself. As she spoke, Zayakili closed the door and quietly touched the bedside, looking at the sleeping Yen Yun Zayakili with some distress. It is obvious that our fried fish set fire to Jinjuan, a cute little boy, thinks it's not good to wake up others to sleep, but he also wants Honor Knight Brother to accompany him to fry the fish, and the tightly held dudu in his hand also shakes with Cory's body. How about? Go back next time and leave a bouncing bomb as a secret code with Honor Knight Brother. Kelly pulled out a small bouncing bomb from somewhere. At this moment, Yen Yun was dreaming that he was actually adventuring in a different world with Qin Deluk. Deluk, the sixth son, actually picked up a proud and beautiful girl. Just as he was about to go further with Qin, Hu Tao suddenly appeared holding up a giant bouncing bomb to blow himself up to ashes. Startled, she suddenly opened her eyes and realized that there was a little loli beside her bed holding a bouncing bomb. She couldn't help but think, am I still awake? So I closed my eyes and planned to wake up again. Hey! Honorary Knight Brother, are you awake? Come and go fry fish with Koli. Little Koli suddenly became happy. Upon hearing this voice, Yen Yun suddenly woke up, but then calmly closed his eyes. It turned out to be Xiao Kelly, so cute. Kelly. Yen Yun sat up suddenly and looked around to find that he was still in the original lounge. He breathed a sigh of relief and then looked vaguely at the door guard, afraid that someone might shout, "Open the door." The crazy knights. Looking back at her like Kelly, I noticed that the little cutie had a strange look in her eyes. Did Honor Knight Brother have a nightmare? Little Kelly raised Duduk in her hand. Kelly lent Duduk to Honor Knight Brother, that way I'm not afraid. Little Kelly reluctantly handed Duduk over. Yen Yun looked at the cute doodle and then at little Kelly, reaching out to touch her head. No need, my brother is not afraid when he sees Zyakili. Yen Yun withdrew his hand and said, "Woo-woo, Zyakili is so cute. I want to fry fish, right? Must explode. Blow it up all day. Can Honorary Knight Brother accompany Kelly to fry fish?" Kelly looked at Yen Yun eagerly. Yen Yun couldn't refuse, but he looked at his clothes and then at the nearby hangar. There was a set of long spruce trees with a light blue color and some white stripes that looked a bit ordinary. Yen Yun was a bit happy, but he didn't expect the knights to have prepared clothes for him. After all, it was a last-minute preparation, so it would be great to have them. Anyway, it's better than Pikachu's short sleeves. Xiao Kelly, can we wait at the door for a while? Brother, please change into new clothes. Okay, Koli also needs to go get the bouncing bomb. Little Koli quickly ran away to prepare something. After packing up, Xiao Kelly arrived at the entrance of the knights and was already sitting on the bench. After leaving, Zyakili, my brother will take you to Wangfeng Mountain to fry fish. Will anyone notice there for a while? Yen Yun weighed his spiritual power and felt that he should be able to fly over. Within the group. Zhongli, Yen Yun seems to like children very much. Pai Meng. But was this big world live broadcast originally calculated based on the importance of a person's heart? Pai Meng. Xiao Kelly has a strong desire to fry fish. Ing. Damn it, Yen Yun took advantage of our efforts to save Mond and quietly went out to play with her cute little sister. Qin. Yen Yun should just be saying that every time Kuli explodes fish, she deepens the terrain and riverbed, and Yen Yun's suggestion of going to Wangfeng Mountain to fry fish is definitely not realistic. Qin. Yen Yun is quite good at taking care of children. Amber. Ing. Paimon Qin. What's wrong with you? Lisa. It seems that the little cutie is not talking about it. Ing. It seems that the last live broadcast started a bit late. Kaya. Pemon grins mischievously, Hu Tao. Sure enough, Li Yu's clothing is still pleasing to the eye. Although it's just a long shirt, it also has a certain temperament when paired with hair color and holding a long sword. Honorary Knight Brother is so far away from Fengshan Mountain. It will be late when he comes back, and he will be discovered by the leader of the piano group. Kelly hesitated and shook her small backpack. Come to Xiaokili to see your brother. Yan Yun reached out and replaced the Xian Yuan sword with a white cloth, which was very eye-catching. Xian Yuan's sword floated in mid-air, and Yan Yun picked up Xiaokili and jumped up, firmly stepping on the sword body. Wow, fly, fly. Little Kelly excitedly raised her hands. Xiaokili needs to hurry up, don't move around, let's go. Yan Yun's spiritual power was activated and he headed straight outside the city of Mond. Alright. Kelly exclaimed excitedly. Chat group. Walnut. He didn't even take me flying like this, Parmon is dangerous, Parmon. Damn it, bad guy. Why was Xiaokili flying with a sword when he was picked up and pulled by Paimengfei last time? Parmon is angry, Xingqiu. Flying with sword. Paimeng drool, Kuqing. Is this the art of wielding swords in another world? It is indeed magical. Qin. Kelly. Yan Yun. Ing. Don't worry, Captain Qin. Yan Yun's imperial sword is still very safe. Qin. What I'm worried about is Mount Wangfeng. Everyone looked at the two people who were gracefully wielding swords in mid-air and also felt envious. Woohoo! Yan Yun let out a strange cry in the air. Woohoo! Xiaokili also learned to shout in the air. The two quickly arrived at Mount Wangfeng, and Yan Yun controlled the Xian Yuan sword to slowly land. Xiaokili jumped down and happily circled around Yan Yun. Honorary Night Brother is great. Tai Kelly fried fish and took Kelly flying in the sky. Little Kelly happily bounced around. Hurry up, Honor Night Brother. Fried fish is very fun, and grilled fish is very delicious. Xiao Paimeng pulled Yan Yun towards the seaside. Two people were bouncing bombs at the beach, and Peng Peng's voice kept ringing in his ears. However, at Yan Yun's suggestion, the least powerful bombs were used, which did not cause much damage except for unlucky fish and splashing water. What? You asked why the minimum power was changed, but it wasn't the first bouncing bomb dropped by Coley that directly caused a big hole in the riverbed. The water splashed like rain, and his intuition told him that if Qin found out about the explosion, he would probably spend a month with Coley in the confinement room. Woohoo roaming sparks, little Kelly threw it happily. Looking at the cute little one with a smile on his face, Yan Yun also showed a healed smile.